I'll call the meeting to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. Select Board meetings are broadcast live and are also recorded by Area 58 Community Access Media Channel 9 and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the front page on our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Cotter, if you could read our community prayer.
Certainly. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek. And keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Cotter. All right, the first item on our agenda this evening, as always, is citizen participation. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the board? Seeing none. We'll move right along to our next item, which is a retirement announcement from our fire chief, Chief Weston. Chief? Chief, thanks for coming in this evening.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you for giving me the time and the opportunity to address the board as well as our community as it's televised. 2 weeks ago, I formally announced my intention to retire the position of fire chief, and that's effective September 27th, 2026, or before, and I emphasize the before. Serving the Carver Fire Department and the community for almost 38 years and over 20 years as your fire chief has been my profound honor and an absolute privilege. Together as a team, we have built an ISO 2 fire department that is second to none and is rated in one of the top 4% fire departments across the nation. We have replaced or refurbished virtually every piece of fire equipment, every piece of fire apparatus, each of our 3 fire stations. We've built a new fire headquarters, a new fire training facility, a new dispatch facility. We've upgraded every piece of radio equipment and even added new receiving sites. For a town of 40 square miles, our 85 on-call firefighters, officers, and dispatchers, we continue to achieve a response time of just over 5 minutes. We do that averaging 20 firefighters during the daytime and over 40 to 50 at night. Our list of achievements could go on and on. I am extremely proud of our department and what we've accomplished. These achievements are a direct result of the continued dedication, loyalty, and unselfish efforts from each of our officers, our firefighters, our dispatchers, and our support personnel. Well, that's about all I got for myself. Now I'd just like to talk a little bit about the future of the fire department, if I could. As you're aware, I have wholeheartedly recommended that Select Board unanimously vote to appoint and promote Deputy Eric Germain to the position of Fire Chief as soon as possible, with an official swearing in upon my final retirement date. My decision to recommend Deputy Germain to become the next Fire Chief is based on many years of experience, consistency, and stable leadership that this fire department has achieved for almost 50 years. Retired Chief Dana Harriman served as fire chief for 27 years prior to myself, and I have served for almost 21 years as fire chief and almost 4 years as your first full-time deputy fire chief prior to that. During that time period, Deputy Germain has been dedicated 35 years of fire service to this community, with over 20 years of that time working right beside me as the deputy chief, as well as members of our select board you all know. Please understand that leading and managing what I consider to be the most successful on-call fire department in Massachusetts is no easy task. Carver Fire is the largest on-call professional fire department in Massachusetts. And as you all know, our fire department structure is very unique, and it's one of a kind, and it's very hard to replicate. It has been studied, it's been well documented, and it's been used by many to become a model for on-call fire department systems across the nation. As many on-call fire departments are struggling, your department continues to excel. This requires the highest level leadership and someone who believes and gives 100% in sustaining the high level of public safety service you and our community have accustomed to. I believe Deputy Jermaine is that person. He has served as a loyal and dedicated member of the Carver Fire Department, as I said, for over 35 years, and as your deputy chief and in second in command for 20 years. Among numerous accolades, certifications, and achievements, and they could go, I think he has a book at least an inch thick, Deputy Jermaine has achieved the official Fire Chief Credentialing Certification awarded by the Fire Service Commission of Massachusetts. That's not easy to achieve that. Deputy Jermaine is highly respected and trusted by all our officers, our firefighters, our dispatchers within the department. He's also respected by the public safety team, police, fire, EMS, and EOC. And he's as respected to our mutual aid fire departments surrounding towns. There is very little more that I can teach him in operating our fire department, and I believe he is fully prepared and more than ready to lead our high-achieving department for years to come. 20 years ago, I appointed Deputy Jermaine to work beside me with the vision at that point that he would lead the department at some point. Well, that time has come, and I can honestly and confidently say, mission accomplished. From this point forward, and with the Select Board's blessing, I will be focused on working with Deputy Jermaine and our officer corps to ensure a seamless transition plan, allowing Deputy Jermaine to excel in the position of Fire Chief. I have deep respect for Deputy Jermaine and his strong leadership abilities, and I know this department will continue its legacy of excellence. I certainly recognize and appreciate if the Select Board decides to meet with Deputy Jermaine in the very near future. And I am confident you will come to the same conclusions I have over the past 20 years. I would ask that this process be expedited. It is very important for the stability of our department to start the transitional process now, allowing me to properly assist in replacing Deputy Jermaine's position. In conclusion, I would like to take the opportunity to thank my family, and especially my wife, Cheryl, who's here tonight. She's always been my biggest supporter. And I'd like to thank each of you for your time. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. And Chief, I know I speak for the town and the board when I thank you for your years of service. You've done an exemplary job, and we can't tell you enough how much we appreciate it. And you won't be easy to replace. And I just want to open up to the board for comments.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chief, I think you know, I hope you know how much I respect you and what you've done for the department. And a lot of that is your emphasis on teamwork. Most of it is, actually.
Yes.
And it's also the respect you show your fellow firefighters and the community members. And I just want to thank you for that. That's extremely important. We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Sarah.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that call department isn't an easy one, and you've made it seem very easy. I've talked to other people in other towns, and they're amazed at how well-run machine this is. They're a great team, which they're in the back row there. everyone's done a great job. We're certainly going to miss you. We know we're probably in some pretty good hands back there. But that's part of it too, the succession. You plan for that.
Sure.
And you're to be commended for that. So
Thank
we'll
you,
still
Jim.
see you around town.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah. Chief, yeah, I know we go back many years, and
We do.
it's been a pleasure working with you, and,
Same with you.
and thank you for all you've done, all the leadership that you've provided. And I really enjoyed working with you on the planning of the financials for the fire station. I know that was a big thing. I can still remember meeting in the old fire station with everybody and trying to figure that all out. So that was, I think that was a great accomplishment that we all did to get that off the ground. But I really appreciate everything you've done, and I hope you're looking forward to a good retirement.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim.
Sure. My turn. I'm sure you've had many highlights of your career that, again, you've been pretty modest not to talk about, but I don't want to embarrass you, but I've got one story. And that is, it was a winter's night, probably about 15 years ago, and one of my neighbors backed their truck into another neighbor's house and took out their gas main. So all we heard was this massive flush of a hissing sound and gas smell all over the neighborhood. I don't know, by the time we got together and out of the house, the fire department was there. Whatever that truck is that lights up the neighborhood was in front of the house. People were pulling up in cars, taking off got in a trunk, putting on their gears, and we had like a full crew coming at us within, 5-10 minutes from the emergency. And my son was very upset. He was 5 years old. He wasn't concerned about the house or the neighbors. It was the toys in his room. He thought where he was going to lose because something was going to happen to him because of the gas. So we were all gathered down in the cul-de-sac trying to keep warm, and the chief came over and sat down with my son Jake to explain to him that his toys were going to be completely fine, the house was going to be safe, and that everybody in the neighborhood was going to be taken care of by the fire department. So I just want to thank you for the personal touch that you've shown over the years, and he still remembers that today.
That's good. Thank you, John.
Thank you for everything, Chief.
Yep.
We certainly appreciate it. Not gone yet. We'll have you back here before before you know it.
No. Thank you, folks. And again, if you have any questions, or again, I'm not going anywhere for a little while. And if you need any assistance, with your plan here, just please feel free. You can reach out to me, okay?
Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, tying right into that, our next agenda item is a discussion and possible vote on the hiring process of a new chief. And I have done a lot of thinking about this, and we just hired a new police chief. I think there's a very different situation with the police. We had no deputy chief to really speak of, and we had a number of applicants, and we took the time to interview them. With this, we have a deputy chief who has been in this position for 20 years, and I think I certainly feel is well qualified. I think the board all feels that way. And my recommendation would be that we move relatively fast on this. I would like to put an agenda item on the next agenda to possibly have a motion to hire a new chief. I would suggest to the board in the meantime, if anyone feels they'd like to have a discussion with Deputy Germain, just to sort of hear his thoughts on the future of his department, his priorities. I don't think we need to set up a formal interview. He works in town, we all live in town. Again, it's very different from the 3 people we interviewed for the police, because they lived out of town, the 2 of them did, and we set up times to do that. I think we could all reach out to Deputy Chief Germain, set up a time to stop by, whether it's here or over at the fire station, just have a conversation, whatever you like. And if nobody has nobody feels that we can't move it that fast, I would think we can put an agenda item on our next agenda to vote on the hiring of a new chief.
Okay.
Anybody have any issues with that?
Well, I would just say that one of the main goals that we had was succession planning, and it sounds like the chief was ahead of us 20 years ago, so yeah, I think that we should, move on it sooner rather than later.
I think so.
Well, my point too was that this is what our fire chief wants. And he's been our fire chief for a really long time, part of our town, fire department for a really long time, and I feel like I have to respect that as well. I think Deputy Chief is very well qualified.
Yeah.
But
So-
even more importantly, so does the chief.
So if anyone would like to have a conversation with Deputy Chief Germain in the intervening time, let's, reach out, set up a time to stop by and have that conversation the next week and a half or so, and we'll plan on, at our next meeting, having an agenda item to vote on hiring a new chief.
Sounds good.
All right?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Moving right along. Next is
Thank you.
Thank you.
a discussion on possible vote on a KP Law rate increase of $10 per hour and additional increases for specialty legal services. This seems to be an annual event at this point. Mr. Cannon, I'll turn this over to you.
I don't really know if there's much more I can add to that, Mr. Chairman. They are looking for a $10 an hour increase from an hourly rate of $255 an hour to $265 an hour. Still, it is still competitive, still a competitive rate. I do see on their specialty rates, these are very rare items. I don't see us engaging them too often on these specialties.
Yeah, I'm looking, I don't see much that we've engaged with at all recently here. When you talk to your fellow town administrators who don't deal with KP, are they seeing the same type of increases with other legal firms? This seem to be something that's just going on?
Correct. I believe, honestly, it's an inflation thing. I am quite familiar with other law firms. I have a few friends in the business. It is recruitment, just like it is for every other profession. I can tell you right now, it is very competitive. They are constantly searching for counsel and town councils. So it's a very competitive field, and they have to pay to be competitive, is what it comes down to.
Ms. Ewens, I'm sorry, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, we have been doing this every year, and those exceptional rates,
Mhm.
that's been there every time too, and then it's not like they're exorbitant.
Yeah, no, and they're pretty rare.
Yeah, they're
Pretty rare, yeah. Mr. Ryan?
I was going to ask what the impact of the budget is. Do we, I think it's level funded in here, but then there was some notes in the back about increasing, so we,
Correct. We had proposed an increase to the legal budget. We went over it last year. We had to make, during my presentation, we had to make significant cuts this year to the budget. So we took out that request for the additional money, and we're just watching the legal budget closer and trying to be more discreet about when we engage with legal counsel.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. I think watching the legal budget and only bringing in counsel when absolutely needed.
And I will say,
Right.
in my time here, I believe just my interactions with council has decreased. Some of the things that have been resolved were issues that, I kind of walked into the door with. So, particularly say the North Carver Water District, things of that nature. Those conversations have been diminishing.
so the plan is to try to absorb the increase within the existing budget
Correct.
right now by trying to reduce the hours. Should that not work, what's our fallback if we run a deficit there?
We would have to go to the finance committee and ask for a transfer, or do a budget transfer if we can from within our own budget. There
Okay.
are times, we have consultant fees in our select board, town administrative budget. Sometimes you use those consultants, and sometimes you don't. If you don't use the consultants, then you could use that funding to offset the legal budget.
Okay. And have you been able to analyze how we used KP Law these past year or so, and just be able to legitimately say, okay, we can reduce here? Or do we have a plan, I
Well,
guess?
that's what I mean. So hey, the North Carver Water District comes to mind, while you're crafting legislation to take over the North Carver Water District. I had countless conversations
Okay.
with the town council. It's a process that has to go through the State House, it has to be very well documented. You have to be very careful about crossing your Ts and dotting your Is. As that has moved forward, those conversations have diminished. So, it's hard to tell, because it's legal fees. Can't really prescribe when you're going to be sued, but again, you just try to reduce those conversations.
All right, I think when we do the budget discussion, we can go a little bit more, but I was just trying to understand how you were absorbing the fee increase now, what the plan was.
At $10 an hour, hopefully it wouldn't be so significant that
Yeah.
it's gonna
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I think the key thing here is you are hearing from your colleagues that this is happening across the board, not just with KP. I would be a little more concerned if it was KP going up every year and nobody else was having
No,
Mhm.
it's across the board. as far as-
those issues. Mr. Carter, did you have something?
Well, I'm never happy about increases on the legal fees, and again, it just doesn't make sense to increase the fees and reduce the budget. I'd like to see a comparison of these fees against other legal services that other firms are providing, just for an apples to apples to see, are they in the range, or are they too high, or are they too low? Before I could approve something like this.
When does our contract with KP expire?
President, we don't have a contract. Yeah, they leave it open-ended, and just in case the board does decide to move along, they try not to be a hindrance
Yep.
in that manner.
Effective July 1st, the rate's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the rate goes up.
So I have a question. Do you know ballpark how many hours for regular legal fees that this $10 would affect?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, just trying to
No, I don't.
see what the impact would be.
No.
Okay.
What is the pleasure of the board? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to increase KP Law's rates to $10 per hour and additional increases for specialty legal services.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And Mr. Cannon, although we've approved this additional fee, could you still work on putting together that comparison Mr. Carter requested? I think that would be helpful
Sure.
for us to have. Okay, moving right along this evening, Town Administrator update.
And I don't have an awful lot for you tonight, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I can inform the board is we have hired a new conservation agent, employee right now, currently in the town of Marion, works for both the conservation and the planning board. The only applicant we had who had any municipal experience at all. Now she works both as an administrative assistant. She does have an environmental services degree. She seems well versed in it, but again, also has that municipal experience. So all the other applicants we did interview, none of them had any municipal experience at all. Just to put together agendas, knowing about minutes and making sure what you follow is on the agenda. Hopefully we won't have to do any or limited training in that regard at all. But all the other candidates, we would have had to have done that. With that said too, she also was easily one of the best ones on her proficiency. She actually took classes related to conservation work, where some of the other candidates did not, even though they all had environmental services degrees, 4-year degrees. I was surprised at how few actually had worked it and took a course on being a conservation agent. So again, that's all I have to.
Mr. Cannon, can you give us an update, just a general update on where we are in the town meeting warrant article process? We did set a very strict deadline. Are we adhering to that deadline? Are we on?
Yes, we are. So that's tomorrow at 4 o'clock. All articles are due, and we are adhering to that. And we've been having discussions with all department heads and committee members to make sure they're aware of that, and if they're bringing an article forward, to have it completed. As far as you know, we don't have any that are in transition right now, so we have them all in-house right now.
Really? So we have
Yeah,
everything?
Or
Okay.
we reached out to, committee members who said that we're not gonna bring an article forward.
Okay, and they're aware, if they don't have it by the deadline, then they're gonna have to wait for
Correct.
a special or the next year, or, okay. All right.
And I'd say probably the biggest of those being, and I know the planning board is still working on an MBTA zoning article, which, we really did tell them, don't rush it, don't push it, right? You have very limited time right now.
Yeah, I think at our last meeting, you mentioned that they weren't looking to do anything at this town
Correct.
meeting anyway. It was probably gonna be later.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Carter.
I know we can't talk, it's on the agenda, but do you have an update on the whole health insurance gateway scenario? And if not, can we add it to the next agenda?
I think it'd be a good agenda update.
Yeah, we should keep having updates on that. Yeah, let's put an agenda item on the next agenda for that. Thank you, Mr. Carter. All right, next is set deadline for the annual town administrator evaluation for board members to meet with the town administrator and for board members to turn in their evaluations to human resources to tabulate. It does say in the town administrator's contract that we will provide him with an evaluation 60 days prior to the town election. The town election is April 25th. So I discussed this with Ms. Weston earlier, and I think a good date for us to have our evaluations completed and turned into her, because she does need to take time to tabulate it, would be February 13th. So if the board is agreeable, I would suggest that we all meet with the town administrator, do his evaluations. A meeting with the town administrator is part of the evaluation.
Okay.
And then get those evaluations to Ms. Weston by February 13th so she can tabulate them. And then we'll look to announce that evaluation at the first meeting in March.
Okay.
Anybody have any issues with that?
No.
All right.
So just a
Yes.
logistical question. So we set up a meeting to talk with the town administrator before we turn in our evaluations?
Yes. And I think that probably everyone does them differently. I've always sort of done my evaluations in pencil. Then I've met with the town administrator. Sometimes, there'll be a discussion which will lead you to understand maybe why something was done and maybe
No,
change that a little bit.
I
So,
got that. I just, it was the before or after question.
that's- Okay, boy, we are moving right along this evening. Our next topic's not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. There are none. We have the approval of the minutes of January 6th, 2026.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
minutes of January 6, 2026.
Yep.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. We have approval of the executive session minutes not for release for January 6th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. We have a request for approval of the Old Home Day 5-mile road race for January 25th, 2026.
July.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Hewens. It'll be a little cold. July 25th, 2026.
I'll make a
At 8
motion
a.m.
to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Let's see, select board announcements. Ms. Hewens.
Thank you. Just to remind the community that Shane Gibbs Thanks is always in need of donations, both for those who are also in need and veterans especially who are in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman.
I'm all set for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Carter.
I'm good, thank you. All set, thanks.
Mr. Ryan.
Just let people know that nomination papers are now available at the town clerk's office to take out.
All right. Thank you, and I will second that. All right. We have a joint meeting scheduled with the Finance Committee at 7:05 PM. Our next meeting will be February 3rd, 2026. So I will adjourn, put the board into recess until 7:05 when we'll meet with the Finance Committee. All right. All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting of the Select Board back to order. And at this time, we'll start a joint meeting with the Finance Committee. We have a couple of things to discuss tonight. One is a fiscal year 2026 quarterly state of the budget update. And another is a fiscal year 2027 budget presentation by our town administrator. We do have some members of the Finance Committee here. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Pat Maha, Chair.
Jim Elliman.
Pass the mic down.
Jim Elliman.
Do I have an extra mic?
Lean in.
Jack Spinetto.
There you go.
All right.
We could share ours.
Yeah, why don't you take this one? Yeah, and I'll share that.
All right. All right, we do have our Finance Director here with us tonight, Karen Praval.
Oh, I got some.
Ms.
Good
Praval,
evening.
Turn it over to
Good
you.
evening, through you, Chair, giving an update on FY '26 budget. This is as of, the update is through December 31st, which is the first half of the fiscal year. And the first slide,
No, we'll make it work. I'll move over a little bit.
Yeah, hang on one second, Karen, while they adjust their microphone. There we go.
There's another one.
And again, Mr. Mahar, you do not have a quorum of your committee right now, correct?
Currently not.
Okay. Okay. So if you do get a member, we'll just pause the meeting so you can call your meeting to order if you do get a quorum.
Okay, good, thank
Okay.
you.
Ms. Praval.
hi, next slide, please. So I wanted to first give an update on revenue. Currently through December 30th, 2025, we brought in about 48% of our revenue. We have half of what we have brought in for real estate. We still receive 1.4 in local receipts. Some of this revenue comes in April, and in March it's separated throughout the fiscal year, but I think we're in good standings right now in terms of where we are for revenue. All of our revenue for December has been posted and has been updated. So I don't see any areas of shortfalls right now. As I was mentioning, we have revenue that comes in a lot in the springtime as well.
Just a quick question, ambulance
Yes.
receipts? Just seems ironic that the budget and the actuals are exactly the same.
Yeah, the ambulance receipts are a transfer. So in the beginning of the year, all of the ambulance receipts covers their expenses. And so when you look at the revenue for the entire fiscal year, the 57, it includes revenue from the ambulance receipts. So when we do our article for the operating budget, is raise and appropriate, which is your taxes, your local aid, your state aid, and then you have your ambulance receipts and your cemetery receipts that cover a portion of the budget.
So it's just a transfer?
Just a transfer, it's just a
Right
transfer.
now.
That's why I wanted to show the total amount of revenue that we had for the fiscal year. And when you look at the actuals, those are transfers that have, they're gonna happen because they're part of articles. The most important thing that I review is where we are with property tax, what has come in local receipts. And then state aid sometimes can come in on a later date, but I track that on a monthly basis. Any questions on revenue?
We're just on target for the year? I think,
Yes, we are. Right
from
now,
what
I
we
don't.
typically would have in a fiscal year?
Yeah, right now, it's about the same that we brought in last year. So if there's any changes, I would make note of it, let people know what's happening. And if I see that I feel like there's going to be any shortfalls, I'll definitely let people know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next slide, please. This is just a graph of what we bring in for revenue, just showing, the highest part is 63% of our tax revenue, and our ambulance receipts are 7% are our local receipts, and our state aid, is 26. So those are the highest areas in terms of revenue that we've received, just to see it on a graph in terms of how it's funded. We're still waiting on state aid for 27, but this is where we are right now. Next slide. In terms of budgets where we are being expensed, we have general government, major departments, we have public safety, we have fire, police. Right now, everything seems to be on target in terms of where we are for spending. Some of our expenses happen once a year, so sometimes they come in July, so you may see, we'll say under benefits and shared expenses, which are fixed liabilities, we have some expenses that are paid once a year. So it looks like throughout the year you have more spent in that category than you are in terms of where we are within the fiscal year. As I met with all the departments at the end of the calendar year to go over their budgets, we had conversations if there were any unforeseen expenses that they're expecting that were going to come up. We're going to go over that on the next slide, but right now all the departments are really adhering to making sure they don't go over the budgets, and we are 50% spent within our salary line and within our expenses. So I think we're in a really good state for our operating budget. For our benefits, we had some increases in our health insurance. So our Aetna payments, so these are payments that the employer makes for retirees. We had 248 retirees, and that premium went up. in the beginning, the first of the year in January. So it went up significantly, almost $50,000. And so we have 2 more payments that we'll be making to Gateway for our health insurance. We've already made 10 so far. We have enough money in the budget to cover those payments, but that's an increase that we were not aware of for those premiums. We just got that information recently.
Karen, are there any individual departments or any significant budget items that look to you like they're going to be significantly over budget that we're going to have to deal with?
Yes, we can go, if there are no more questions in terms of what's been spent today, we can go to the next slide. And the next slide, talk about some of the, this is just percentages of our budget, but this is what I wanted to go over. These are FY26 unbudgeted expenses that I can go through. In O&M, there's a DP mandate related to the municipal well, and so we had $67,000 of expenses that we're anticipating. I'm still working with Dave and O&M just to make sure when we're going to need to spend those, when those invoices are actually going to come in, but we do have a contract that was mandated, and so as we look at the cash flow, we'll be able to determine if those expenses are going to occur in FY26 or portion them in FY26 and 27. The second one was the Board of Health. We had a DEP mandate, and this was for a geological field service. This was at the 99 Main Street, review of their 6 wells that were sampled. We had this expense in the Board of Health budget last year, and this is just the balance of what was left that had to be done. So this invoice was recently paid. We'll be revisiting these at the end of the fiscal year in May as I look at where we are in the total budget, if there's surpluses in some budgets. So this may be something that will come to the Finance Committee and the Select Board as an end-of-year transfer. But these are the expenses that we were notified of when I met with the departments. Second one, there was a one-time expense to replace mats at a playground through recreation for $8,500. It's not in their budget, and so that's something that we would need to discuss in terms of transfers at the end of the fiscal year. The other,
Chairman, Karen,
Yes.
can we just go back to the Board of Health one? So the 4,000, so last year they came forward, if you remember, they asked for a $16,000 budget transfer. Some wells got damaged when they built the fire station over at 99 Main Street, and that was again mandated by DEP to rebuild. Is that 4,000 in addition to the 16,000?
that's correct, it's in
Oh,
addition. So we
okay.
paid the 16 in FY25, and then there was another 4,000, it's the last bill that just came in.
So we might have to revisit their budget to make, because this sounds more like a yearly sampling.
Yes, this is the only invoice that the health director said we were going to be receiving moving forward. So we don't have it in the FY27 budget, but we may have funds in his budget at the end of the fiscal year to absorb the 4,000, or would have to request a transfer as we did similar to last year.
I have 2 questions, but you can keep going, and then I'll ask the questions before we leave the slide.
In the benefits line, we have the firefighters, LOSAP, and there's a stipend that we give to the retirees. That has gone up for the number of firefighter retirees. We're going to be increasing the FY27 budget. Right now, we're over by $5,000. I'm anticipating spending, and $10,000 over what we originally budgeted. So this will be an item that we'll be requesting a transfer if we need it. If there is enough money within the overall benefit budget line, then it would be just absorbed in that category. North Carver Water,
Oh, sorry, and I was gonna just ask on that one, do we get a projection? I mean, I know they recruit new firefighters, do they have a, do we know year over year what, how the impact is? I remember when we allocate funds for this, I don't know, remember we had that information.
Oh, no, absolutely. We do have projections. Chief Weston has a very elaborate list of everybody that receives. We just had additional retirees that weren't originally anticipated within the estimated budget. And so we have an increase of 10,000. We're going to need to increase FY27 budget as well. We increased it by 5,000, but we need to increase by another 5,000 based off of what we're paying out.
And then back to the recreation one, was that approved, or was there how did that come to be? What was the situation with that, and how did they spend money they didn't have?
So this isn't payment that hasn't come up, and I believe it's part of a prior project that they were given. I can
Okay.
get more information on that. We had a brief meeting the other day.
Okay, but it was unbudgeted and it was spent, and so I guess the question is, yeah, how did that come to be?
Yeah, so this money has not been spent.
No, it has not been
not,
spent.
so
These
we
are
need to
just
have a conversation
upcoming
about it.
expenses that they said that they're going to incur that they need. But this invoice has not come, it hasn't come to my desk. If I get an invoice and we don't have money in the budget, it doesn't get paid.
The
And then-
invoice hasn't come to your desk, but has the work been done?
Not to my knowledge, doesn't mean we need to.
Not to my knowledge, but I can
I think
find
they
out.
were talking about doing it in the spring, and there was an issue, and we can go back and check, but I seem to remember it was a safety issue with how the mats were installed. And they're not correct, and they're a safety issue, and that's why they had to be replaced. But they weren't planning on doing this until, like April. I think it's warmer outside.
And I guess we can't get into this topic, but I'd look into a little bit more to see if there's insurance or whatever. It sounds like if it got wrongly
Yeah, some
installed.
kind of warranties.
And warranties and things like that
was
for the
there.
town.
I mean, I think there's some avenues to look at, but I do remember it was a safety issue that we talked about, and that's why.
Okay. Thank you.
I can get more information on that. I'll ask Emily on that.
Okay.
Next one is North Carver Water District. We have an engineering contractor that was hired. It was around $109,000. They're spending down on that right now. We haven't received any current invoices with Middleborough. I reached out to Middleborough for all outstanding invoices for water. I haven't received anything. As I look at the North Carver Water District budget, we have around $150,000 left in the budget. So we have a balance of, 77, but we haven't received water invoices. I estimated water invoices as of last year around $37,000, $38,000 a month. So I haven't received anything. So this is something that's definitely on my radar. Constantly, I've reached out to the chair of the Water Commission and just trying to I'm constantly reviewing this budget. But that's an unknown that I just wanted to give everybody an update on.
So I have a question. So is this is a signed contract?
Signed contract for an engineering company, and this was part of the mandate through, I believe it was DEP or EPA. And so they moved forward with doing different work. And one of them was hiring an engineer, which they hired an engineer, and I've been monitoring invoices that have been coming in. They just started, I think there was like one for maybe $23,000. It just recently came in I believe like a couple of weeks ago. So we hadn't made any payments from July up until now, but now that I see that payments are being made to this engineering company, I reached out to Mr. Belbin to find out how much work is actually being done each month, so I know what we're going to be spending for the rest of this fiscal year just on the engineering, so that we still have enough money to cover water. But
Karen, you've had multiple meetings with the chairman, or at least reached out multiple times to the chairman of the North Carver Water District about your concerns with their budget.
Yes, especially with the invoicing, because I haven't received any water invoices.
So I have a quick question.
Yes, Ms. Hughes.
So who hired this engineer? Was it the town or the North Carver Water District?
North Carver Water District.
Why are they hiring an engineer?
Because they are a separate district with the
Well, I
authority.
understand that, but I thought we're dissolving the district so we could hire the engineer.
We are in the process of dissolving the district. Until the district is dissolved, we do not have the authority to.
So who's going to pay that bill?
We will wind up paying that bill, the town does.
That bill is paid out of the North Carver Water District's budget. So out of their budget, they have a budget of $650,000. They just recently started paying the engineer, so I'm just constantly watching that to make sure that it doesn't, spend down on what they need the revenue, the expense, the money in the budget to cover water.
If I could, Mr. Cannon, or Ms. Proval, whoever can answer the question. If the North Carver Water District has a budget, if they overspend that budget, does that automatically come back to the town to pay, or how is that handled? They're an independent authority right now. We have no control. over what they spend or who they hire.
But we shouldn't have to be paying them.
Well, that's my question. Who ultimately, how does that get paid?
I was told by town council that the town of Carver would be responsible for the existing contracts signed by the North Carver Water District. Now, I will tell you that, the day we gain control, we'll have a conversation with the engineering firm about what we can do to delay or redirect. But right now, we don't have that authority.
Okay.
Aren't
Well,
there, aren't there,
I think just call the meeting to order.
Mr. Mahar.
It's not gonna be quick, but, the FinCom has a quorum in place now, and we'll call the meeting to order for the FinCom at 7:15.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I think Ms. Purell had her hand up.
Okay, I heard multiple folks. Ms. Preval, why don't we go to you, then Mr. Carter, then Mr. Mahar?
I just wanted to address a question that you had in terms of the budget.
Okay.
If you, this is a subsidy enterprise fund, and so anything that is above what they bring in for revenue is subsidized by the town through a subsidy. If they get to the point where I feel like they're going to be going over what's been appropriated, they have to come back to either through special town meeting, have additional money appropriated, which would be a subsidy, which would be a transfer from the town to the enterprise, or would need to be a transfer as we did last year through the finance committee. So those are things that I'm constantly looking at. We have town meeting coming up in April. If we don't have enough money based off of the invoices that are coming in, we would need to have an article transferring money to the North Carver Water District through free cash for
Well,
FY26, to cover
And again,
FY26.
The deadline for articles is tomorrow,
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock.
so
So,
you better perhaps have a conversation sometime tomorrow.
You need a dummy an article to put in there just to have in case we need it.
Okay, Mr. Carter.
maybe I'm forgetting this, but wasn't there substantial retained earnings balance still sitting in the North Carver Water District?
Oh, there's $27,000. So we had $27,000 in retained earnings that was certified this fiscal year. So they had a little bit of a balance left last year, $27,000, and that money can be used to cover the FY27 budget. So we'll have the subsidy from the town, plus this $27,000. I mean, we haven't determined, I'll be meeting with Glenn tomorrow to look at the transfers and the subsidies in terms of what we need, based off of the contracts that have been signed.
If I could, Mr. Carter, so they did have substantial.
They did, at one point it was very
retained
high.
earnings.
Yeah.
So as they were also being subsidized by the town of Carver, they were drawing out of that retained earnings for the past multiple years. I want to say at the sum of $200,000 a year, somewhere in that range.
It was something around
And they were
600,000
really-
at one
Yeah,
point.
so what happened with the North Carver Water
Balance.
District is that they had a stabilization fund for the North Carver Water District. And as they were putting money into that fund, that must have happened years ago, if you look at the articles, they were using that fund to cover this particular budget. And so ran out. We used the last of that last year in FY26, and now there was a little balance in terms of what they brought in and what they spent in FY25. So you had that $27,000 that's available for the FY27 budget, but that's it. There's no more available funds in North Carver Water District, other than the 27 that was certified by DOR this past winter.
Mr. Mahar.
Okay, a few things. I'm gonna start off just by saying that it defies explanation, the behavior of this group, particularly the chairperson. It is ignoring,
Can you be more specific about the group you're talking about?
the North Carver Water District. Oh, yes.
This isn't on our agenda, so be
And,
careful.
you know,
Mr. Mahar, just remember, what's on our agenda here is the state of the budget update
Yep.
and the budget presentation, okay? So just please keep your comments.
Well, it already was commented, but it's horrible. And it shouldn't be allowed. But when we talked about, we've got a TBD for, so we're assuming that they will be over budget. And if, Ms. Praval, as I think you said they got about $150,000 balance, but you're looking at 30-something thousand per month being billed from Middleborough, and we haven't got any bills yet.
you know, per month or per quarter.
Per quarter, excuse me, per quarter. Excuse me, per
Oh, okay.
quarter.
That's better.
Okay. So, there could be a overage, or there may not be. And do we have any sense of the status of this in the legislature right now?
I have none. I don't know if you have.
I
any.
have not received an update. The last I knew was this was before they broke the session, before the holidays. They needed one more vote to complete that, the dissolving and turning over.
Yeah.
So,
I think that was last year though, and I think,
Correct, that
I
was
think
last
now
year.
we start a whole new legislative year, so.
But I still think the total and intentional lack of cooperation is appalling.
Okay. Anything else on that particular budget item?
That concludes my update for FY '26 budget, and unless you have some questions.
Are there questions for Ms. Praval? Anyone?
Sorry, are you going into the actual versus first quarter? So the next item on the agenda or no? I guess I had a question about actuals to date versus budget.
Oh, that was what we just, the budget versus actuals through December 30th.
Okay, I'm just looking at, and if you might have to get back to me on this one, I'm just looking at the subscription for Vadar. It looks like we budgeted for fiscal '26, $185,000, but the spend through November seems to be accelerated. It's $123,000 spent to date. So that's like 66% of the budget. So do we spend the subscription, do we spend that up front? Is there a large deposit made up front, or is it done on a monthly basis?
I'll have to look at that, but some of our bills are paid up front and some are paid on a monthly basis. So sometimes you may see 60, 70% spent and we're only like 30% through the year. And that's usually because we received a bill that comes either quarterly or it's just once a year. But
Like when you
I
get
can
a
find
check.
out about that.
Anything else, Mr. Carver? Anybody else? All right. Moving right along.
Chairman, if you will, FY '27 budget summary, and it will look very similar to the FY '26. We budgeted to change the pictures up here, but we did not. If we could move right into, again, let's kind of go through the same theme Mr. Wall did. This is FY '27 projected operating revenue by category. See property tax, the local receipts, state aid, solar net metering. Free cash number has come in now. We haven't allocated that free cash yet. Mr. Praval and I will have those discussions this week. I will tell you that, let me show you the, I don't know if there's any questions on the revenue, but
Anyone?
going to the next slide then, again, it's just the pie graph here, kind of showing it visually. And then we get into the operating budget here by category. You know, you can see all the different categories we hear. I do, and I don't want to toggle back and forth here, but you'll see there is a different number up there, the 53,992,872 is different than the revenue. On the revenue side, we do bring in the, particularly the solar revenue, but also the battery storage facility revenue, and then we take that revenue out and we put it into separate stabilization accounts. So it's a little misleading. Then we get into the operating budget. On the operating budget, we do include the EMS budget and then the $20,000 for the cemetery. So again, you see those two numbers don't equal each other. We do have a balanced budget right now in front of you. It's gone through the finance committee. We do have, there'll be some tweaking to it. I can tell you right now, there's tweaking to it every single year. Right now it is substantially balanced. But on this presentation, like you see the difference between those two numbers, and that's why. So if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to.
Well, not so much a question, but just a point that I want the board to hear. So you and I have had discussions, and I had this discussion with Ms. Praval as well. So when you pull money out to fund the various stabilization funds, our general stabilization fund right now is fully funded, correct? We've hit
Correct.
7.5%,
Correct.
and we're there.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah. So we have some flexibility this year to be able to utilize that money.
okay.
I don't know if there's anything on the operating budget again. If not, I'll just go to the next slide. It's fairly quick. And
That's just one,
oh,
just a quick question on the property taxes. It's about a 6% increase from last year to this year. Is that through existing that we have, or are we projecting there's gonna be growth?
It's been new growth, correct?
We have new growth projections at $1 million for, that was from the battery storage. That's part of the FY '27.
Okay.
Yes,
No, okay.
plus you have the 2%.
Which is one of the things, you know, you always have to be cautious of, because that battery storage, new growth, is a large number that's gonna come in for this one fiscal year, and then you know, you won't see that duplicated next year. So, it's one of those things to very caution all boards and all residents about. Don't think we're gonna be seeing a 6% increase every year. Just,
Yep, Scott.
Quick question on the, looking at the budget, is the budget book that we all have right now the same as what we're looking up here on the screen?
yes,
So the money that you're reducing out of revenue for the solar, that per our policies gets transferred to maybe long-term capital planning. I'm looking for a breakdown, I'm gonna call it 1.6 million, because I think what you've got in there
Yes.
is the solar, $97,000 from last year, you got multiple solar coming on, you got the battery storage, but I thought you had also an allowance, almost like for Pine City that's going into default, and are you reducing solar for any other reserves?
Yeah, I am. So we have around a little more than $2 million in all of our solar pilot agreements. For the pilot agreements that went under, that are in bankruptcy, it's around $250,000. My estimated revenue for pilot, I have it at 1.6. So it kind of covers what we're not going to bring in through the bankruptcies. So right now we have 1.6 in the pilot revenue. We have not allocated that money. So if you take the amount of free cash in the pilot, you have $4 million that you're gonna be looking at in terms of your different transfers and allocations. You know, free cash covers capital, a lot of stabilization funds. None of the money is being used to fund the operating budget.
So can I get a copy of the 2.1 million less your reserves to get to the 1.6 when you get a chance?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
it's just a visual again of the operating by our pie chart, and then questions. And then I will say that it has come up to the board about some of the cuts that were made to the budget. I'd like to go over that.
Okay, I think that'll be
Briefly, and
a good idea.
I'll go high level, Mr. Chairman. I know
Yep.
we don't want to get into the details of each and every cut here. But a tough year, and a lot of towns are having a tough year. Here's the list here. I'm gonna just hit the ones that really kind of go up, the expenses over $10,000. I'm happy to explain all this. I can tell you right now, there were no staffing cuts. There are no staffing cuts proposed in the FY '27 budget. So we did it all by cutting expenses. And you can see, I mean, it's $415,561 here. You know, that's a significant cut from the requests that were made from the department heads. And many of these cuts are made because what we did, and Ms. Praval did this, we looked at the 23, 24, and 25 actuals, as opposed to the, and then FY '26, you know, we're in the middle of the year, so it's a little tough, as opposed to the budget request. And then we cut down from the budget request. But still, let's just kind of, I just want to kind of go through some of those, just so, you know, the board is aware. You know, one of the ones that took a hit was the select board budget, right off the top there. You know, we cut back on consultant fees, seminars and training, project management, office supplies, contractual obligations. And I will tell you right now, the contractual obligations that were in our budget, so in my contract, there's allowance for me to go to the MMA conference and the ICMA conference. We also have those, we have that budgeted in the seminars and training, so it's really redundancy. So I didn't see a need, you know, we zeroed it out, is what it came down to. And then just operating supplies, if there's any questions on that. The legal budget, again, you know, so we did put in a request, myself put in a request for $35,000 extra, going up from $140,000 to $175,000. You know, as we got into the year and we started to see how tough the budget was going to be this year, we withdrew that request, and we're going to you know, stay on top of town council and try to shorten every meeting we can and every conversation we have with them.
I have a question. So for legal, like, this past year, we had 3 contracts that were negotiated, so that was legal fees, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Right, and
so
that's
we
one of the
won't-
things too, so, right,
so we
that-
won't
good
have
point.
that?
Yeah, good point, Mr. Hoffman. A substantial amount of time,
Right.
substantial amount of time writing the contracts, negotiating the contracts, you know, and going through that in detail, so, correct.
Okay.
Those are hours spent.
Oh, and I was gonna ask, so that's level funded from last year?
Correct, level fund from last year.
Right.
So-
My only concern is I would recommend putting a little bit more in there if possible,
Yeah.
because it seems to me we have a risk of running a shortfall. I know we can do our best to manage legal costs, but, you know, in reality, things happen, and all of a sudden we'll have a shortfall, and just a level funded, especially with fees going up. And I know, as you said, we had contract negotiations and things like that, but I still see that we may be prudent to add a little bit to it.
Yeah, we did though, I mean, we spent a substantial amount of the legal budget on those contract negotiations.
Correct.
I would think we're not having those union negotiations this year would be a substantial savings
Correct.
in that budget.
Between that and the North Carver Water District.
Well,
And some of those meetings went for hours.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, again, the legal budget, you can never predict what's gonna happen, but I,
Well, assuming all the bills are in right now through November, we're way behind the budget of 140, we're at like $40,000.
Yeah, some of that is lagging, you know, we haven't received bills for, the quarter as it comes in. They're not prompt on their billing.
well, to Mr. Ryan's point, we should probably take a look at that, especially with the cost increases, and see if there's a way of putting a little more in there, but
We
I-
do constantly look at the budget and try and tweak it, and, you know, if we can find dollars somewhere, we're happy to have some input from the board, and trust me, I'm more than happy to put a little bit more extra in.
So I have a question about the department salaries that have been reduced here. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 department salaries.
Specific, I know, let me just see. So one would be the town planner, and one of those being, in the conservation agent. So, you know, those are people who worked here, they had some experience. On the conservation side, we actually cut back the hours from full-time back to 30 hours a week. The former town planner had been here for multiple years. He came in with a lot of experience. You know, you pay more for an experienced person. We're hoping to, when we hire somebody else, we may hire somebody without as much experience. One of them on here was the veterans agent. They had requested a van driver for the agents. You know, we weren't able to put that in the budget this year. There was also an assistant veterans agent. We had it budgeted all last year. We haven't eliminated the position, but we did take the funding out of there. The current agent doesn't feel as though she needs an assistant right now. She feels the office is functioning fine right now. She's able to address all their concerns, so, you know, we don't want to force somebody on there. She's very conscientious, very good, right? We like that with the department head. She's concerned about bringing on somebody and they're sitting there without enough work to do, so, you know, we don't want that.
What about operations and maintenance and council on aging salaries?
I do see a $10,000 drop in the operation and maintenance. There are no positions, I would say, you know, I think it's just a normal course. Well, I'm gonna say that, we have a couple of retirements there. And again, when somebody retires, I remember the gentleman came in, he was a custodian, I don't recall his name, but I want to say 30 years experience. He's at a higher step, you know, could be at a higher grade if he was a good employee, like he was a good employee. Oh, overtime, we cut out the,
Yeah.
and then, sorry, we also cut out the overtime, with O&M,
We cut it down just by 10,000.
yeah. And again, it's something we have to just keep our eye on and try to manage a little bit better.
Mr. Ryan, did you have a question?
No, I think I was on that legal thing. I think I'm all
Okay.
set, but as I mentioned, I think it might be prudent to, you know, potentially, if there are money available. I mean, my question had to be, do we anticipate anything? Like such, for example, with the North Carver Water District, if that goes through, do we potentially need any legal cost to do anything? I'm just thinking ahead, you know, so
Yeah,
that was my
we may.
point.
There may be some.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Are we going through these line by line?
I wasn't going to go through them line by line, I was just gonna kind of go over the larger.
Do you have a question on
Yeah,
some specific ones, Mr.?
Yeah, information technology, that budget has 231,000 in it for the computer software / Vadar. Vadar, I'm assuming that is not anything to do with a new system, that is the subscription services we pay for the current system?
Correct.
So no money's been budgeted for any kind of new system?
We were gonna put that in as a capital item, as a matter of fact, the
Is
new
there
system.
I don't think is there a capital item on that?
We don't have any capital in IT right now. All the subscriptions are within the budget. A lot of the changes that John made to his budget had to do with different conferences and training that he reduced, and there were some other areas that he felt that weren't needed.
But
So-
there's nothing anywhere, capital or operating expense for a new financial system?
The new financial system is in the capital section. It's under accounting, and it's for 300 for
So you
Munis.
got a capital, okay.
Yes.
I'm seeing it now.
It's just not showing that he didn't put any, he didn't put in for any capital items. I spoke
Oh,
with,
okay.
yeah, okay.
And then under in IT again, additional equipment, $35,000. I mean, we've spent over, I don't know, I'm trying to remember the number, $250,000, $200,000
It's a lot.
on IT equipment. Why would there be any, at all, additional equipment needed in IT?
I do know one of the things that we have, and it's been my attention multiple times, we don't seem to have any spare computers at town hall at all. As a matter of fact,
We just get rid of all.
What happened to all the computers
Just
we
get rid of all.
replaced?
I think they were all outdated, we don't, so we, I mean,
Yeah, but your
we don't-
spares are usually outdated, they're not your new ones.
you know, so there is a need for equipment. Equipment breaks down during the year too, so there may be a replacement, equipment that's needed. I'd have to dig more into it.
I'd like a lot of information on that.
Yeah, I think with a lot of the cuts that we're making here, you know, we might have to make do with some of that older equipment if
Yeah.
need be. So I second what Mr. Carter had to say. I think we should really look into that before we add any new money to that budget.
I thought you wanted to switch everybody over to laptops so that they could take laptops with them.
Yeah, he's done that.
Yeah, so we have done that.
Yeah.
But
So,
again,
so you can take your laptop with you, you don't need a
You
spare.
don't need spare, right?
well, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
mostly for new employees who are coming on board, that we don't have any spare computers. I've actually never heard of that before. I mean, you know, computers break all the time. I can tell you right now, they burn out, whatever, the software breaks out. And, you know, generally, IT departments have
Could we
5 to 10.
Could we allocate some of the $200 and something thousand that we're already allowed for IT and allocate some of that back to this?
Well, that 200, was it 250,000? That was a
It's so
capital,
large, I don't know what it is.
but that's a capital request, so
That
we
was
have,
for the servers.
yeah,
There's a whole list of items on it.
Can we just have a conversation with our new IT person
yes.
and just see if there's a way of repurposing some of that older equipment that we replaced? To see if we can use that in place of investing in some backups. I hate to see us cut line items from other needed services just to buy backup computers in case we need one. So it might be something we can utilize some of that older equipment. I'm sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I met with Chris Grady this morning, and so he's putting together a list. He's reviewing all the items, all of the inventory. We had a conversation about all the capital projects, what's been ordered, what's pending, what he's using the money for. So he's going to be going through this budget in detail on what they're spending moving forward, what we've received, what we haven't received, what's pending. So we had that conversation. So he was meeting with John today, but he's also going through this, so I should be able to give you that detailed report at somebody. He's working on that right now.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Carter, do you have any other specific line items?
I gotta go through all this detail, so I'll do it
Okay,
another time.
so back to you, Mr. Cannon.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
sorry, but I didn't know if we were getting into some of the details or questions if they were in the budget. I guess we can finish this part, and then if we had time,
Yeah.
maybe go through open questions and.
We can
some
definitely
budget.
do that.
All right, thanks.
So kind of going down to the list, and again, there are quite a few cuts in the planning department and the expenses. And really, What we looked at as we looked at the 23, 24, and 25 budgets, these were just line items that really weren't being utilized to their fullest, so, we were, again, we're looking for money here, looking for funds, so we cut a lot of these. These are consultant services, seminars and training, postage, advertising. The other one, other purchase services, almost $5,000. Again, wasn't being utilized, so we decided to cut that budget. In-state travel to $2,000. We cut this out right now. We do have the electric cars right now for staff to be utilizing for in-state travel. I don't see any need to have $2,000 in the budget for that, honestly. Office supplies, again, just not being utilized. And then dues and membership, so it's just some of the that we cut there. Some of the larger cuts here, you can see down on the list is operations and maintenance. I'll tell you now, Dave Seatontalk was, worked with us on this to help us, again, obtain that balanced budget. It's very helpful. And these are some of the larger cuts you'll see. There's the stormwater management, only $1,500, but building repairs and maintenance, $28,000, which is a large cut. Equipment repair and maintenance, $4,400. Capital maintenance, $20,500. DPW stock, $2,000. And then we were able to cut out some contractual obligations, put them in a different line item, that's $1,000. But again, a total of $58,412 cut from that budget. Again, we had this conversation when we were in front of the finance committee. I think we all feel Dave really stepped up to the plate, and if money comes available, and we're particularly looking at the state money coming in. Sorry, I lost the name of the term right now. But we'd like to replenish that budget. Be the first one we'd like to replenish.
When you talk about, that was a pretty substantial cut to building repairs and maintenance.
Correct.
Do we know what specific building repairs he was putting on?
No, see, one of the things about it is, he has to anticipate what's gonna break over the next year, and he just really can't.
So we're not putting off some needed repair that we have?
Correct, no, there is not. But again, he's looking at his budget, very conscientious person. I think of all the budgets we have to, inflation probably hits O&M the hardest. They're constantly buying, replacement parts and equipment and lumber, everything, gravel, everything. So all that stuff is expensive. He's just always looking at that budget. But again, we do appreciate Dave, I can tell you right now, working with us. We've all, I know when the finance committee was certainly unanimous of trying to build that budget back up, and then we can do that. The other one that, we take a big hit out of here was short-term interest. You'll see it down the bottom there, $99,600. So we don't anticipate any borrowing this year at town meeting. This is really the interest on the band. We kept $400 in there just to keep the budget item open. Again, this is one of those, we're gonna cut it back this year, but we'll probably need to build it back next year or the year after. We are constantly borrowing, right? So at some point we'll have to build that back up. And then on the benefits unemployment, again, just looking at the trends here, we had $80,000 as requested. If you look at the trends, we believe we can manage that with $70,000, so that's a $10,000 reduction.
Can I just ask you, it wasn't one of the major cuts, but I noticed that we cut the recreation department almost $6,500. We don't spend a tremendous amount of money on the recreation department to start with. Do we know what specific cuts we made there?
Not specific cuts, but what happened here is with the recreation department, I want to say the turnover with the finance directors, they weren't told fully what their revolving fund contained. Ms. Praval here, I want to say found $56,000 to add into their revolving fund.
Okay.
So they have.
So in essence, we replaced that money with some other
Correct.
fund?
They have
Okay.
ample funding available to them.
Okay.
And we just, again, cut back on their request, not an actual existing program.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Carter.
It might be a little bit off topic, but it has to do with operations. Have we straightened that? Behold, there's an article out there for energy savings, $100,000, but it's tied into state grants. And at one point, it wasn't being recorded correctly, and there was grant money to offset it. Have we straightened all that out?
I'm trying to,
It was
Is this for the-
$100,000, Karen, if you can remember, and I don't remember what
We would
called
always,
it.
we would always say there's an article out there, $100,000, no spending against it. And then
Yes,
there's also
so-
green energy grants
Yeah.
against it, possibly offsetting that.
that's correct. So this is in the
Yeah.
capital. So this is a capital project. We, in O&M, they always requested $100,000 for energy efficiency projects. That money for FY '26 is being, 25 and 26 are being spent on lighting at the middle high school. We also received the Green Community Grant. So in the prior years, over the last 3 years, they were funding these invoices through the community grant, and that's why the energy efficiency capital appropriation was not needed. But the community grant, that ended. So as of December, it's gone. They're spending the money. I think there's probably about $5,000 left between the FY '25 and '26 budget for energy efficiency projects, and according to Dave, I don't believe he's requesting anything for FY '27. They've completed their projects.
Thank you.
Sorry, off topic.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Any questions from the FinCom?
I don't have any questions, I'd just like to say, I thought that was a very good two good presentations. I liked the level at which it was given. We didn't have to do any deep dives and get down into the weeds. That's what goes on here, and we shouldn't have to be doing that here. So, nice job by both of you. Thank you.
Any questions from the select board? Mr. Ryan?
On the inspections department budget page, it's missing the gas and electrical. Just wanted to find out why that's zero.
Through you, we had, for the electrical and gas and working with the building department, it's been rolled up into buildings. Because they had separate department codes for plumbing, inspection, where it all falls under building. And when speaking with Rod, he thought it would be more efficient to have it all under one budget, because they had buy office supplies for members of the plumbing, weights and measures. And so you'll see that that budget is zeroed out, but it's been moved into the building salary line. So there's a salary line that is specifically for the plumbers. And if you look at the salary detail, you'll see how that's broken out.
So on that page, you're saying it's in one of the, it was just pulled into another?
It
one
was
of the other
moved up
numbers?
into the buildings, yes. I can tell you the page. So if you go to page 20,
That's what I'm on now, yeah, thanks.
you'll see under regular salaries, that includes the salaries of the inspectional service. So it includes the gas inspector, the electrician, weights and measure inspector. Whereas in the past, they were set up under different departments. And so because they share different supplies and different expenses, it just made more sense. And speaking with Rod, to have everything under his direction or that one department code.
Okay.
I'm not seeing page 20.
Well, yeah, it's under tab B.
I'm in
It's under B, and then you just gotta, that's 17, so keep going, you get to 20 eventually. There's some pages inserted in there, so,
18.
sorry, keep going to 20. So, see, that's what I was talking about, that was all missing.
And I can tell you,
It's been rolled up.
Dan, if you actually go down there, I mean, they even all sit together. They're
Yeah,
all in the
okay.
same, they're all in the same room. They certainly share all their equipment together. It's just more logical. It's the way they operate, you know?
Yeah.
And the
Right.
budget should reflect how they operate.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
it just seems very logical to me.
Okay.
And
All right.
and efficient. And I'll say the same thing too. There's no sense in really having three different departments and all, three different departments getting all, paper and pens and whatever they.
Right. No, I just saw it disappear off the budget page, so I was
Yeah,
wondering how
it
it
is,
got.
it is
how
kind
it
of,
got
but if you do
pulled
look
in.
at the regular salaries, you'll see there's $65,520 there that wasn't in fiscal year 25, 24, 23. So that's where that new, I won't say new, but that's where the salary moved to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone have anything else on this particular item? I think we'll do. All right.
And I would just want to reiterate, Kevin, again, tough year, a lot of cuts, very appreciative of staff working with us. These are hard conversations to have. So, all departments are trying to do the best they can for the residents of town, and they worked with us to get us a balanced budget. That's what we need.
Well, I think when you see what's going on in the towns around us, so many towns are looking for operational overrides, that I think the fact that you and the finance committee and the and the department heads have been able to work through this and find some cuts to bring everything in balance. That's a credit to the hard work that you all did.
Well,
because
thank you. I'm very proud that we didn't cut make any staffing cuts. We were able to do it through their expenses. So again, I think that's a good thing.
I think so too. Any other further comments?
Yes, I'd like to thank Ms. Prival for her work as well.
Absolutely.
Couldn't do it without her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Do we have anything else here? No, I don't think so. Would you like to adjourn your committee?
We need to, motion to adjourn by the FinCom? Somebody get
Make a
that?
motion to adjourn.
Okay, done. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned for the FinCom.
Okay, and again, our next select board meeting will be February 3rd, 2026. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Area 58. Have a great night.